Hey loves, and welcome back to my channel. It's Ijoma here, and in today's video we're going to learn how to make the trendy shorts gown. It can be midi, it can be mini, but the trendy structured dress. This dress has been trendy lately, especially for brides. They use it for reception, and this is the fabric that I'm making use of. This is a sequence fabric, and I'm still going to add more sequence to it. I'll buy more sizes to add to it. Now the first thing that I'm cutting out is the skirt, and I'm using freehand for the skirt. There is no point drafting it on pattern. Now I'll go ahead and fold the doll face. After folding the doll face, I will take my half length measurement. The half length is 17 inches. My shoulder to hip is 27, but I made it 26 because it is a structured dress. I don't want the hip to look low. Then the full length of this dress, I made it 35 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. I took my hip line 1 inch higher so that the hip will not look low because of the type of dress that I am making. So now I'll go ahead and mark a straight line. The only measurement that I am going to take here is my waist measurement. That's the only fitted measurement that I will take. So my waist is 28. I'll divide it by 4. My actual waist is 30, but I made it 28 because this is a corset dress. So I took out 2 inches from my waist. Now at the hip, I did not measure anything at the hip, but if you want, you can do your hip divided by 4 plus extra 5. Then from there, you will mark an A shape. Then look at this A shape that I'm marking right now. It is not too pointy. As it is approaching the full length, it went straight. You can see the structure, the shape of the A that I marked. It is not too pointy. Then from the full length, I went up by 3 inches at the side and curved it so that it will not look pointy. You know, sometimes if you're wearing an A-line dress, it will look pointy. So I went up by 3 inches at the side and I slanted it. I'll go ahead and cut out. Then I will use this particular piece to cut out the back. Now the back is going to have a zipper allowance, and most of the time this type of dress hangs at the back if you're not careful, especially for people that have big butts. Though this dress is not really advisable for people that have a big butt. Now I've folded the fabric that I'll use for the back, and I'll go ahead and place the front on it. Now after placing the front on it, I am going to make the back length longer than the front length. At the center back of this skirt, the back, like at the center back, the back of the skirt will be like 1 inch or 1.5 inch longer than the front, so that whenever the wearer wears it, it will not hang, it will not hang at the back. So now I'll go ahead and add 2 inches for the zipper allowance, and then that center back will have a little A shape too. I'm not going to make it straight. I'll give it a little A shape. Then from the full length, I came down by extra 1.5. You can see the center back of this skirt is 1.5 inch longer, but the sides are equal. So I'll connect it to the side. You can see that the back is now longer. So the next thing that I am going to do is to connect it, and I'll give it a little A shape. You can see the down part of the back, it has a little A shape. Now I am done cutting this out. I am going to cut it out on another doll face and then the main fabric. I don't need to talk, you can just watch me do it. The video, this sewing tutorial has 2 parts, the cutting and the sewing video. You can see that the cutting is up to 30 minutes already. Then imagine combining the cutting and the sewing, it will be too long, so I had to divide it into 2, the cutting tutorial and the sewing tutorial. So right now I'll go ahead and cut out on another satin because this is a sequence. The sequence will have one doll face, then the other doll face will serve as the lining. I'll come down by 2 inches at the center back around the zipper allowance, and I'll slant it this way because it is a corset, so that whenever I lace my corset and zip my skirt will not be hanging at the back. That is why I took out this 1.5 or 2 inches at the center back. So the center back of this skirt is lower than the front. Now I'll go ahead and cut out on my main fabric and another satin for the main fabric. this is a collar stay. For structure, I am going to add collar stay to the lining. I will add more structure, but for the meantime, at the lining, on the lining, we are going to add this collar stay. You can use peplum gum if you want. So I'm going to cut out the collar stay for the front and the back of the skirt. Collar stay, you can use peplum stay. Then I'll add more structure to it later, because this only the collar stay will not be able to carry the weight of that sequence. If you are beading it too, you have to make it very structured so that the weight of the beading will not affect the structure of your dress. So I'm done cutting for the front. I'll go ahead and cut for the back too.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun, as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. The laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild. The moonlight, summer sky, it was the best we ever had. And we'll stay young forever. We'll never have regrets. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Now we are done with the skirt cutting. Here is for the upper part. Now it is going to be a tube dress. It will not have a sleeve. From the shoulder, I'll mark my bust point. My bust point is 10. My under bust is 13 and a half. My half length is 17. And then I'm going to make this an inbuilt corset, more like an inbuilt bustier. All right. I'm going to make it an inbuilt corset. So there is no point ending it at the half length, so that it will not be difficult for you to sew. This method will make things easy for you. Now I'll divide my bust by 4 plus extra 3 inches so that I can use it to divide this paper into 2 equal parts. I'll go ahead and divide the paper into 2. Now, of course, many of us already know that front and back half lengths are not equal. My front half length is 17 inches, my back half length is 15 inches. So after dividing this paper into 2, I will also take my back half length and then the back full length. The back full length will be 2 inches shorter than the front full length. The chest line remains the same. Then there is no bust point at the back. So I'll go ahead and take all those measurements and label. So now I'll go ahead and label. This is my front chest line, this is my back chest line, my bust points, my under bust, my half length, and then this is the full length of the corset, the full length, okay? So this is the full length of that inbuilt corset, and this is the full length of the back. So you can see my back half length is 2 inches shorter than my front half length. Now we are going to start drafting. The first thing I'm going to do is to mark out my shoulder, that is 8 inches. I'll connect it to the chest line, then I will use 3 by 3 for now. I'm going to use a shoulder dart bustier, for this particular bustier that I am trying to make. So right now, I'll find the midpoint of my armhole, curve my armhole, mark out my 3 by 3. Now on the bust points, I'll go ahead and mark 4 inches for my nipple to nipple. It is 8 divided by 2, that is 4, and I will take it straight down to the full length. Also, I will find the midpoints of this shoulder. I will connect these points first of all. Then I will find the midpoint of my shoulder. From the neckline to the midpoint is 5, so the midpoint is 2.5. From the neckline to the shoulder is 5, so the midpoint is 2.5. Then from that midpoint, I will come out by 3 inches and connect it back to my bust point. Now, after connecting it back to my bust point, I'm going to close these darts that I marked. This shoulder dart I marked 3 inches shoulder dart. I'll close it on paper, and then we take the shoulder measurements. After you're taking the shoulder measurements, you are also going to recurve the armhole. Now, at the under bust, for the under bust tightening, I am going to take out 2 inches on this side, or you can just distribute 1.5, more like a Victorian corset. I'm drafting this like a Victorian or over bust corset. So I took 1.5 on both sides of the under bust, and I will connect them back to the bust point. Then at the full length, at the center piece, I will mark 1.5 or 2 inches at the full length. Okay, that is 2 inches there, and then from this one I will connect it back to the center dart line. Okay, so at the end of the day, after joining, I will have a slanted dart line, like my dart line will slant inwards. So now I will go ahead and close my darts again and then mark out my neckline. So from my chest line, I'll go up by 2.5 and mark out my chest line. So my chest line is actually 2 inches above my bust point. Then from that chest line again, I went up by 2.5, and this neckline is going to be a straight neck. I'm not doing any design, it's just a straight neck. So you can see I closed my dart before I marked that straight line. So now for the upper bust tightening, I have a total of 2 inches. I'll divide my bust by 4 and add back that 2 inches for the upper bust tightening. Then at the half length, I will take the dart there. I have a total of 3 inches. I'll divide my waist by 4 and add back that 3 inches for the dart. Then at the full length, I will divide my hip by 4 and I have a total of 3 inches also for the dart, and I added it back. So now I'll go ahead and connect these measurements and then take my side dart. My side dart is 2 inches because the difference between the front and back half length is 2 inches. So at the full length, I will come up by 2 inches also at the side and curve it. Then for the side dart, from my bust point line, I will come down by 2 inches and close my side dart. And I'm using 2 inches because the difference between my front and back half length is 2 inches. So you are free to any difference you have. Some people plus size, their own may be up to 3 inches, some people 1, some people 1.5. It depends. So now I'll go ahead and cut out. After cutting this out, I'll cut out the back. So I'll close this side dart on paper before I continue. So I have cut out my neckline. My neckline is just straight like I said. I'll go ahead and close this side dart on paper. Now for the back, I'm not doing much at the back. No darts, nothing. I'll just do a simple back and it will have a lacing. Now this is the back piece. You're using this paper for the back. I am not doing much, no zipper allowance, nothing. I'll just, and this time around the back will meet the front at the chest line. The front has an armhole cuff that ended at the chest line, and then the back will continue from that chest line. So the back is going to be more like a straight cut. Okay, so now I'll divide my bust by 4 and mark, divide my waist by 4 and mark, divide my hip by 4 and mark. I am not taking any darts. Then after that, I will take out like 1.5 inch for lacing, for the space for the lacing. So I'll go ahead and connect, and then at the full length, I'll also come up and by 2 inches and curve the side of the full length. Then the neckline of the back, I don't want it to be straight so that it can relax better on my back. So at the center of that chest line, I will come up by like 1.5 or 2 inches and then curve it down to the chest line so that the back piece of this corset will relax very well on my back. I hope you understand. I want it to relax very well on my back. So now I'll go ahead and take out 1 inch or 1.5 for the back lacing. I'll mark a straight line and then indicate my eyelet line and cut out. Now all our pieces are complete. I've closed my front side. That I have my back. The next thing that I'm going to do now is to start cutting out. I'll cut out on 2 doll face pieces and then the main fabric. The doll face pieces, you add interface. One will stay with the lace or the sequence that you are using, then the other one will serve as the lining. So now I'll take my time and start cutting. This is my skirt. I'm done adding interface to it. This color stay, and you can see how strong it is. So I added this black interface to this fabric and I will use it to cut out my main body. So this is where we are going to stop the cutting. In our next tutorial, we will start stitching so that we can explain better. Do not forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell. It is important so that anytime I upload the sewing video, you will be notified. Thank you all and see you all in my next video.